The cold winds of Altaria 3 whispered across the alien plains, their melody eerie yet strangely harmonious. A peculiar glow emanated from the bioluminescent flora, casting long, shadowy tendrils across the metallic hull of the downed starship, Celestial Horizon. Inside, Captain Alyson Hart surveyed the damage with a grim expression. Her co-pilot, a sentient, jelly-like being named ZYN, rippled anxiously beside her. Navigation's fried. Communications are a joke. We're stuck, Alyson muttered, kicking a charred console in frustration. ZYN shifted colors, a trait that revealed their emotions like a living mood ring. Stuck, yes, but not hopeless. We can adapt. Adaptation is key, yes? Alyson sighed. She admired ZYN's optimism, even when it seemed misplaced. Before she could respond, a sudden alert pinged from the environmental scanner. The screen flickered, displaying an incoming object. Or rather, a being. It's huge, Alyson breathed, her eyes narrowing at the lumbering figure emerging from the haze outside. The scanner labeled it as species unclassified. The creature stood nearly 3 meters tall, clad in a shimmering suit of iridescent armor that seemed to hum with energy. In its right hand, it wielded a massive blade that pulsed with an otherworldly glow. What is that? ZYN's voice quivered, their surface turning a pale blue. Alyson's jaw tightened. No idea. But it doesn't look friendly. The figure halted a few meters from the ship, raising its blade high. To Alyson's shock, a deep, resonant voice boomed through the air, despite the vacuum-like conditions outside. Who dares trespass on the sacred soil of the Order? Trespass? Sacred soil? We crash-landed here. Alyson yelled back, though she doubted the creature would listen to reason. ZYN's form rippled furiously. Sacred soil? This place is barren. And what is this Order? Before Alyson could retort, the creature stepped closer, its movements unnervingly graceful for something so large. I am a Sentinel Knight of the Eternal Order, protector of these lands. You are intruders. State your purpose or face judgment. Alyson's pulse quickened. Knight. The word struck her as oddly archaic, almost comical, in the context of their technologically advanced galaxy. Knights belonged in old Earth tales, not in encounters with towering alien warriors. Still, this was no time for semantics. We're just passing through, she said, raising her hands. Our ship malfunctioned. We mean no harm. The knight tilted its head, as if studying her. There is no translation for the human word knight, it said, its tone tinged with what could almost be described as disdain. Your primitive language diminishes the sanctity of what I represent. Noted, Alyson muttered under her breath. ZYN, ever the negotiator, interjected. Sentinel, noble protector! Surely, we can resolve this peacefully? Words, not blades, yes? The knight's blade thrummed ominously. The Order speaks through action. You must prove your worth to tread upon this soil. Oh, fantastic! Alyson groaned. What does prove your worth mean exactly? As if answering her question, the knight raised its blade skyward. A beam of light erupted from its tip, splitting the ground between them. The earth trembled, and a labyrinth of glowing runes etched itself into the terrain. The trial of valor, the knight declared. Succeed, and you may leave. Fail, and you forfeit your lives. Alyson exchanged a wary glance with ZYN. Of course it's a trial. It's always a trial. The knight gestured toward the labyrinth. Enter. The path will test your courage, intellect, and spirit. Only those worthy of the Order may survive. Alyson gritted her teeth. She had no choice. This wasn't just about survival. It was about protecting her crew and escaping this cursed planet. Fine, she said, stepping forward. We'll do your trial. But you'd better keep your word. The knight's helmeted head dipped slightly, a gesture that might have been a nod. Your resolve will be your undoing or your salvation. Proceed. As Alyson and ZYN entered the glowing labyrinth, the oppressive hum of the knight's blade faded behind them. The path ahead shimmered with shifting patterns, each step revealing new, cryptic challenges. Alyssum couldn't shake the feeling that the knight's words carried a warning, one she didn't fully understand. Yet. Just another day in the universe, she muttered, steeling herself for what lay ahead. The glowing labyrinth seemed alive, shifting with an eerie intelligence that made every step feel like a gamble. Alyssum kept her eyes sharp, scanning the patterns in the walls and floor. ZYN floated beside her, their translucent form flickering with nervous energy. The air inside the labyrinth was dense, tinged with a faint, metallic tang, as if the very atmosphere was testing their endurance. "I've seen some strange things in my time," Alyssum muttered, her voice barely above a whisper. "But a sentient maze? This tops the list." ZYN rippled a deep orange, a sign of unease. "Sentient? Oh no, let's not give it ideas. Let's just find the way out." The first challenge presented itself almost immediately. A section of the floor split open, revealing a glowing chasm filled with swirling, violet energy. From the other side, a series of hovering platforms emerged, each adorned with symbols that shifted and rearranged like living hieroglyphs. Alyssum frowned. "A puzzle. Great." ZYN hovered closer to the edge, their surface pulsating as they analyzed the symbols. "Patterns, yes. Look, these symbols correspond to sequences. But one misstep." They didn't finish the thought, and they didn't need to. Below the platforms, the swirling energy churned violently, radiating a heat that made Alyssum's skin prickle. "Stay back. I'll try it," she said, stepping forward. ZYN protested. "Wait. I'm lighter, less likely to disturb the balance." Alyssum shook her head. "You're better at analyzing patterns. I'll follow your lead." ZYN hesitated but relented, pointing to a symbol on the first platform. "That one. It matches the sequence on the left wall." Alyssum took a deep breath and stepped onto the platform. It wobbled slightly but held firm. Encouraged, she followed ZYN's instructions, leaping from one platform to the next. With each step, the symbols grew more complex, and the patterns shifted faster. Sweat beaded on her forehead as the challenge escalated. "Faster!" ZYN urged, their voice tinged with panic. Behind them, the platforms began to disintegrate, each one falling into the void moments after Alyssum left it. "I'm going as fast as I can," she snapped, lunging for the final platform just as the one beneath her crumbled. She landed hard, rolling onto solid ground, her heart pounding in her chest. ZYN floated over, their surface flashing a relieved green. "You did it! Incredible! But no time to celebrate, we must keep moving." The next section of the labyrinth was darker, the walls shifting to a menacing crimson hue. A low hum resonated through the air, growing louder with each step. Alyssum felt the vibrations in her bones, and ZYN's form quivered in response. "What now?" Alyssum murmured, her voice strained. The answer came in the form of a shadowy figure emerging from the wall. It was humanoid but distorted, its edges blurred like a glitch in reality. The figure's eyes glowed with an unnatural light, and it spoke in a voice that was both many and one. "You face the trial of deception. Who are you when stripped of truth?" Alyssum glanced at ZYN, whose colors swirled in confusion. "What does that even mean?" The figure raised a hand, and the labyrinth shifted again. Suddenly, Alyssum found herself alone. The walls closed in, transforming into mirrors that reflected distorted versions of her, versions where her fears and failures played out like living memories. She saw herself as a child, running from a burning building, her face streaked with tears. Another reflection showed her older, standing over a comrade's lifeless body, her hands stained red. Each reflection whispered accusations, their voices clawing at her resolve. "You abandoned them," one reflection sneered. "You're unworthy," hissed another. Alyssum clenched her fists, her nails digging into her palms. "Enough!" she shouted, her voice echoing through the labyrinth. "I'm not perfect, but I'm still here. I don't need your judgment." The reflections faltered, their images flickering before shattering into shards of light. The shadowy figure reappeared, nodding slowly. "You are stronger than most. Continue." The walls shifted again, and ZYN reappeared beside her, their form flickering with worry. Listen! What happened? You vanished! I faced something personal, she said, her voice trembling. Let's just keep moving. The path ahead was narrower, the glow of the runes dimming to a faint shimmer. As they pressed on, the humming grew louder, resonating with a chaotic rhythm. Suddenly, the ground beneath them erupted, and a swarm of mechanical constructs burst forth, their sharp, insect-like limbs clicking menacingly. Combat trial, Alyssum muttered, drawing her energy blade. Figures. ZYN hovered behind her, their forms shifting to a defensive posture. I'll distract them. You focus on their weak points. The constructs lunged, their movements unnervingly synchronized. Alyssum's blade met the first wave, slicing through their metallic shells. Sparks flew as she parried and dodged, her muscles screaming in protest. Meanwhile, ZYN darted around the swarm, their bioluminescent body flashing to confuse the constructs. They're adapting! ZYN shouted. They're learning your moves! Alyssum gritted her teeth. Then I'll have to get creative. She scanned the battlefield, her mind racing. Spotting a cluster of unstable-looking runes on the wall, she shouted. ZYN! Lead them there! ZYN didn't hesitate, luring the swarm toward the glowing symbols. Alyssum hurled a small explosive from her belt, the blast triggering a chain reaction that engulfed the constructs in a fiery cascade. As the smoke cleared, Alyssum and ZYN stood panting amidst the wreckage. The labyrinth shifted once more, the walls glowing a soft, golden light. 2 trials down, Alyssum said, wiping sweat from her brow. What's next? ZYN's colors flickered uncertainly. Whatever it is, it's not going to be easier. The path ahead beckoned, promising new challenges, and perhaps a chance at freedom. The golden light guiding the path dimmed as Alyssum and ZYN pressed forward. The labyrinth's atmosphere grew heavier, its walls pulsing faintly as if alive and aware of their presence. The hum from earlier had settled into a disquieting silence, broken only by their footsteps and ZYN's occasional, nervous ripples. The air felt charged, foreboding. Then, without warning, the path opened into an enormous chamber. It was vast and circular, its edges fading into shadow. At the center stood a glowing pedestal, atop which rested a crystalline sphere that radiated energy. The air around the sphere shimmered with power, and Alyssum immediately felt her instincts flare with danger. This, ZYN said, voice trembling. This is it. The core of the labyrinth. Before Alyssum could reply, a low rumble filled the chamber, growing louder until it resolved into a chilling, mechanical laugh. From the shadows emerged a hulking construct, its form a grotesque amalgamation of alien tech and organic matter. Its many eyes glowed crimson, and its limbs bristled with weapons. The Guardian, ZYN whispered, turning a sickly yellow. Of course, Alyssum muttered, drawing her energy blade. There's always a Guardian. The construct spoke, its voice a deep, reverberating growl. You have survived the trials, but the labyrinth's heart is not for the unworthy. Prove your strength or perish. Without waiting for a response, the Guardian lunged. Alyssum barely had time to roll aside as its massive claw crashed into the ground where she'd been standing, sending shards of glowing stone flying. ZYN darted into the air, trying to draw its attention. I'll distract it, ZYN called. You find a weak point. Alyssum nodded, her mind racing. The Guardian was fast, too fast for something its size. She needed to outthink it, not outfight it. She scanned the chamber, searching for anything she could use. Her eyes landed on the pedestal. The crystalline sphere was pulsating, its energy radiating in waves that seemed to affect the Guardian's movements. It hesitated slightly whenever the pulses intensified. That sphere, she muttered, dodging another swipe of the Guardian's claws. It's controlling it. ZYN swooped down toward her, dodging a burst of energy from the Guardian's weaponized arm. The sphere? Are you sure? Not entirely, Alyssum admitted, but it's our best shot. The Guardian roared, firing a barrage of plasma bolts. Alyssum sprinted behind a column for cover, her mind working furiously. She needed a plan, and she needed it fast. ZYN, she called. Can you create a distraction big enough to keep it off me? ZYN hesitated but then glowed a determined purple. I'll try. Just don't take too long. As ZYN zipped around the Guardian, flashing and shifting colors to confuse its targeting systems, Alyssum darted toward the pedestal. She reached it just as the Guardian's claws scraped inches from her back, the sound like nails on a chalkboard. Her heart raced as she studied the sphere. Its surface was smooth, but faint cracks glimmered with unstable energy. It's fragile, she realized. But how do I? The Guardian roared again, abandoning ZYN to charge straight at her. She had seconds to act. Without thinking, she grabbed the crystalline sphere with both hands. The energy surged through her, searing and blinding, but she held on, focusing all her willpower on the cracks she had seen. The Guardian froze mid-charge, its eyes flickering. The chamber itself seemed to quake as the sphere's energy intensified, lashing out in chaotic arcs. ZYN yelled from across the room. Alyssum! What are you doing? Ending this! She shouted through gritted teeth, her body trembling under the strain. The Guardian let out a final, ear-splitting roar as its form began to disintegrate, the energy from the sphere overwhelming its systems. Its massive body collapsed in a cascade of sparks and shards, the remnants scattering across the chamber. The light from the sphere faded, leaving Alyssum gasping and weak but alive. She released the now lifeless crystal, which crumbled into dust in her hands. ZYN floated over, their colors swirling with relief and concern. You're alive, ZYN said, their voice soft. But that was reckless. It worked, didn't it? Alyssum replied with a weak grin, collapsing to her knees. Before ZYN could respond, the labyrinth shifted again. The walls began to dissolve, revealing a brilliant, star-filled sky above. A booming voice echoed around them. It was the same voice as the Sentinel Knight from earlier. You have faced the trials and defeated the Guardian. You are worthy. The Sentinel Knight emerged from the shadows, their armor gleaming in the starlight. They stepped forward, their presence less menacing now. Alyssum struggled to her feet, glaring at the towering figure. Worthy for what, exactly? She demanded. The knight extended a hand, and a small, glowing object appeared in its palm. This token is your reward. It marks you as an ally of the Eternal Order. Carry it with pride, and leave this place. ZYN studied the object, their colors shifting with curiosity. What does it do? The knight's helm tilted slightly. It is a symbol, a reminder that you have faced the trials of the Order and emerged victorious. Its power is yours to uncover. Alyssum snorted. Great. A mysterious prize from a mysterious knight. Just what I needed. The knight stepped aside, revealing an open path leading out of the labyrinth. Your journey continues, travelers. May your courage guide you. Alyssum pocketed the glowing token and exchanged a look with ZYN. Let's get out of here. As they stepped onto the path, the labyrinth dissolved entirely, leaving them on the open plains of Altaria 3. Alyssum glanced back once, half expecting the knight to vanish into thin air. Instead, the armored figure stood silently, watching them depart. Well, ZYN said, breaking the silence. That was something. Alyssum laughed, though it was more from relief than humor. Yeah. Let's never crash land here again. They walked into the horizon, battered but victorious, their minds already turning to what challenges might come next. The open plains of Altaria 3 stretched endlessly under a vibrant sky streaked with ribbons of teal and gold. The labyrinth had vanished completely, leaving Alyssum and ZYN standing in an almost surreal calm. The glowing token in Alyssum's hand radiated faint warmth, its intricate patterns shifting like a living puzzle. ZYN floated beside her, their colors muted in exhaustion. So, we survived. But what now? What even is that thing? Alyssum turned the token over, squinting at the ever-changing runes etched into its surface. No idea. But if that knight thought it was worth giving to us, it must be important. ZYN's surface flickered thoughtfully. Important, yes, but also dangerous. Powerful things usually are. A faint hum drew their attention, and Alyssum instinctively gripped her energy blade. The Sentinel Knight reappeared, walking toward them with deliberate slowness. This time, there was no weapon raised, no air of intimidation. Instead, the knight carried an aura of solemnity. "You carried the token of the Eternal Order," the knight said, their voice resonating with a quiet reverence. "It is not merely a symbol. It is a key, a guide, and a burden." Alyssum raised an eyebrow. "A burden? Great. Just what I needed." The knight inclined their head. "With it, you have access to the ancient vaults of knowledge scattered across the galaxy. But be warned, such knowledge attracts those who would misuse it. The Order entrusted you because you have proven yourselves. But the trials ahead will be far greater." Alyssum exchanged a look with Ziwayan. "Vaults of knowledge, huh? Sounds like an adventure. Or a trap," Ziwayan muttered, their colors rippling uneasily. The knight ignored the comment, stepping closer to Alyssum. "One such vault lies not far from here, buried beneath the sands of this planet. The token will lead you, should you choose to seek it. Or you may leave this place and carry on with your lives. The choice is yours." Alyssum considered the offer, her mind racing. The vault sounded like an opportunity, but it also sounded like trouble. Still, trouble was nothing new to her. "Why us?" she asked. "Why not someone from your order?" The knight's glowing eyes met hers. "The Order no longer exists as it once did. We are but echoes. The galaxy needs new protectors, those who can wield knowledge with wisdom and courage." Alyssum exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of the moment. She wasn't sure she believed in grand destinies or chosen ones, but she did believe in the power of choice. And right now, her instincts told her that walking away wasn't an option. "Fine," she said. "We'll find this vault. But if this token gets us killed, I'm holding you responsible." The knight's helm tilted slightly, a gesture almost like approval. "Then may your journey be guided by both logic and courage. Farewell." With that, the knight dissolved into shimmering particles, leaving Alyssum and Ziwayan alone once more. The token in her hand pulsed softly, and as she stared at it, the runes shifted, forming an unmistakable map of the surrounding terrain. Ziwayan hovered closer, studying the map. "That's incredibly convenient." "Convenient or cursed," Alyssum said, sliding the token into her belt pouch. "Either way, it looks like we're going on another wild ride." They followed the token's guidance across the plains, through shimmering heat waves and beneath a sky that seemed alive with movement. After hours of walking, they reached a massive dune, its surface glittering as if embedded with tiny stars. At the dune's base, the token began to glow brighter, its pulse quickening. "This is it," Alyssum said, brushing sand away to reveal a hidden panel. The token seemed to recognize it, for as soon as she placed it against the panel, the ground beneath them trembled. The dune split open, revealing a staircase descending into the darkness. Cool air wafted out, carrying the scent of ancient machinery and something faintly metallic. "Well," Ziwayan said, their colors flickering between excitement and dread. "No turning back now." Alyssum smirked. "Since when do we ever turn back?" They descended cautiously, the light from the token illuminating their path. The stairway ended in a vast chamber filled with towering, crystalline structures, each glowing faintly with stored energy. Strange machines lined the walls, humming softly as if aware of their presence. Ziwayan floated closer to one of the crystalline structures, their form glowing with curiosity. This is knowledge stored and preserved." "So much knowledge." Alyssum approached cautiously, placing a hand on one of the structures. Images and sounds flooded her mind, maps of forgotten star systems, equations for faster-than-light travel, recordings of alien civilizations long extinct. The sheer volume of information was overwhelming. "It's incredible," she whispered. "But why was it hidden?" A deep voice resonated from the walls, startling them both. "Because knowledge is both a gift and a weapon." Alyssum turned sharply, but no one was there. The voice continued. "Those who sought this place before sought power without understanding. You must prove that you are different." Ziwayan rippled nervously. "Another trial?" The voice didn't respond. Instead, one of the crystalline structures began to pulse, and the machines along the walls sprang to life. A holographic figure materialized, a humanoid shape composed of shifting light. "You must demonstrate wisdom," the figure said. "Select the knowledge that serves life, not destruction." Panels appeared around the chamber, each displaying a fragment of the vault's information. Alyssa's heart sank. There were thousands, maybe millions of options. "No pressure," she muttered, studying the panels. "Ziwayan, any ideas?" Ziwayan analyzed the displays, their forms shifting rapidly. "We look for knowledge that builds. Agriculture, medicine, peaceful technologies. Avoid anything that screams weapon." Working together, they sifted through the overwhelming data, carefully selecting fragments that aligned with their mission. Hours passed, and the holographic figure remained silent, watching their choices. Finally, as Alyssa placed the last selection, the figure nodded. "You have chosen wisely. The vault is yours." The room brightened, and the crystalline structures began to hum in unison. The token pulsed with a radiant glow, as if acknowledging their success. "We did it," Alyssa said, though her voice was tinged with exhaustion. Ziwayan floated beside her, their colors a vibrant green. "We did. But this is only the beginning." As they ascended back into the light of Altaria 3, the vault sealed itself behind them. The token, now brighter than ever, seemed to promise more challenges and discoveries ahead. Alyssa looked to the horizon, a determined smile on her face. "Let's see what the galaxy has in store for us next." With Ziwayan at her side and the token guiding their path, the adventure was far from over.